We are online. Just go.
Oh, well, now that everyone's here, hello everyone, and welcome to the Crossfords Gaming Podcast E3 edition. I'm your host Anafix, and I'm joined by everyone's favorite guy, Ned.
Greetings, humans.
And tonight we are going to be talking about E3 and the different things that have been revealed so far. We've already had EA Sports on day one, and then we had Microsoft earlier today, and we are going to have Bethesda here soon. So we're going to break those down as best we can.
Right. So,
And I guess first off, overall, what do you think E3 has been like so far for you? Has it been amazing? Kind of meh? What do you think?
so there have been a couple of really high points with a whole lot of meh for me. Um, uh, the EA, the EA play. I got to watch that live yesterday, and EA play. A lot of that was for me kind of meh. All except for uh, probably the one high point for me was the announcement of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Interesting. See, I wasn't sure what to think about that one. I mean, it sounds cool in practice, but I'm ever since the whole Battlefront 2 debacle, I'm not entirely confident that EA knows what they're doing.
I would almost agree. The only thing I would say is since it's Respawn doing it, Respawn did Titanfall and Titanfall 2,
Okay.
and so that gives them a little more credibility in my book.
Okay, that's a pretty fair statement. Uh, well, I guess let's go on and start talking about the things that they did talk about. The first thing that they went through was Battlefield 5, which, as everyone knows or should know by this point, is the sequel to Battlefield 1. So let's see how that math works out. Um,
I mean, hey, the first one in the series was Battlefield 1942. So,
exactly. I mean, they're just, at this point, they're trying to keep people guessing with the numbers, so that way, they're thinking about like, what number is it going to be this time? And then maybe going from there.
yeah, I think the sequence at this point is something like Battlefield 1942, Battlefield 2, Battlefield 2142, uh, let's see, Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4. Oh, and I skipped over the two Bad Company games. So there was, so if I back up, there was Battlefield 2142, then Battlefield Bad Company, Battlefield Bad Company 2, then Battlefield 3, uh, Battlefield 4, Battlefield Hardline, and then Battlefield 1. I think I hit all of them.
That sounds like all of them to me. I am no expert on the entire chronological order of the series, but that sounds right. Um, so this one, like, what's it going to bring to the table here? I think the most prominent thing that they announced was a battle royale mode because everyone's doing those these days.
Of course. Tick one off the E3 bingo card.
That's right. Which at the end of this, we may actually show the completed bingo card and see what all marks we made. It's basically, it was a card just showing all the different things that could have happened at E3, and it's bingo. So I mean, if you get a line, you're gonna get a bingo. But that's besides the point. Um, the other things that they are going to focus on here is they have the new single player campaigns, and they're actually going to feature untold stories of heroism. So I guess they're gonna go deep into specific characters in this one.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a return of the war stories mechanic from Battlefield 1, where each single player section focuses on a particular character and events around that character. So uh, I think I think War Stories was one of the things Battlefield 1 did well for its single player content. And so am glad to see that come back. I just hope they find a way to innovate rather than just being more of the same.
Well, I mean, they've done wonders with the series so far, so I'm relatively optimistic of that. I feel like now this isn't the series that did that thing where you're controlling a soldier, and if they get gunned down, and you immediately just warp to another one, right? That's Call of Duty, wasn't it?
Well, no, Battlefield 1 did that in their intro as well.
Okay.
Um, Battlefield 1 did that. They later talked about Battlefield 1 did that specifically because they wanted to illustrate the futility of trench warfare. How each character you inhabited in that opening sequence before you started the first war story was basically just expendable fodder, but at the same time, they were actual men who lived and died. And so it was kind of to give you a feeling of what that trench warfare was like.
That's got to give you a terrible feeling. It's like, oh, I'm just sending these guys to their death. What am I doing here? um,
Kind of the point.
yeah. Now, I can't see there being a whole lot of significant technological advances in this one, since it's still basically around a similar time period. Or, of course, I could be wrong.
Well, you'd be surprised how much technological advance there was between World War One and World War Two.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, just consider in World War One, the bolt action rifle was considered the standard infantry weapon, whereas by the time World War Two came around, semi-automatic carbines were the preferred infantry weapon for most of the world powers.
All right, that's a fair point. And of course, in World War II, that ended with nuclear weaponry.
Hmm.
So that's a pretty big difference as well. Uh, I'm almost afraid of that scene coming up when you're playing the campaign, because I've seen that particular event unfold before, and it's never very comfortable to watch.
Yeah. Um, the I know from a standpoint of Hiroshima and Nagasaki were considered to be they were controversial decisions on Truman's part, and I think if you treat those with the respect they're due, when you look at the decision Truman was making there between looking at over 5 million people, both uh, U.S. troops and Japanese dead, versus 70,000 through the use of atomic weaponry, it was a it was a nasty calculus he was having to make. And not to mention, if you've ever read the stories of the the pilots, the bombers who were aboard the Enola Gay the day the bomb was dropped, uh, it really it is a sobering thing to be confronted with. And I am curious if it's something that they're going to broach or if they're going to stick with mostly the European theater.
Well, I feel like if they go to too many different locations at once, it probably would cause some issues. So, but I mean, I don't know. I think at this point, like I said before, I'm just going to trust that they know what they're doing, and if they don't, then we'll find out really quickly.
Yeah, I mean, EA did well with Battlefield 1. If they continue in the same vein for Battlefield 5, I think it'll at least be as good. At least that's what I'm hoping.
I think that's a pretty significant hope right there. Um, Oh, and lastly, this is a bit, lesser than, you know, all this like heavy story thing and then battle royale mode, but still very important. There's apparently not going to be any loot boxes or a premium pass for this game, which a lot of people would be, a lot of people would appreciate that greatly.
Yeah, I think there's going to be relief about the fact that the player base is not going to be segmented by who has access to what DLC. I I'm glad that they are ditching the premium pass, but this is EA we're talking about. If
Mhm.
they're getting rid of one monetization scheme, I guarantee you they have another one waiting in the wings.
Well, let's just hope they do a better job next time.
I mean, let's. They say no loot boxes, so hopefully we won't expect anything along the lines of the Battlefront 2 debacle, but this is EA. They're not exactly known for being, well, what's the nice way to say it? They're not exactly known for learning their lesson well.
Oh, certainly not. I mean, if Disney is as mad at them as they are, that definitely indicates that.
All right, so let's see what else was on the list here. Okay, so there were a number of sports titles that were debuted, including FIFA 19, NBA Live 19, and Madden 19.
Hey, Ned, I hate to
Yes.
cut you off there, but we figured out why we weren't going live, and we basically have to start over because instead of putting in the key for CrossForge Gaming's stream, I apparently put in mine, so it was streaming to my personal channel.
Oh, well,
So
now,
Jimmy just said switch keys and start over.
hey, that's
uh,
okay.
uh,
You know what?
okay.
No big deal. We'll
Yeah.
take two.
Okay. Uh, should I stop the recording or just have him cut it out? Or what do you think?
Just keep recording. Patty can cut it out because I know none of us want to have to go through the trouble of setting up another Hangout, fixing all that.
Alrighty. Well, I guess I need to figure out this whole code key thing. This thing will let me. Yeah, so Patrick, you're going to be hearing this. I'm sorry that I did this wrong and you have to cut this opening section out, but this is why you get paid the big bucks.
Yep.
um, why in the world is this not doing what I'm telling it to do? All right, hang on here. So let's see. Because I really thought I had the right key because I was in the crossword section. Okay. It's going to theirs. Well, where in the world is their key at?
I was going to say, if you need the key, I've got it.
That would probably be good so I don't have the wrong one again.
Okay. I'll send it to you privately on Facebook.
Okay. Good news is I usually only make these mistakes once, so
Well, we all have to make them at least once. Also,
yeah.
while I'm at it, let me give you a link to the Twitch team browser source assets so that should you ever need all this information again, you will have access to it.
Oh, alrighty. right, that's not the right one. Ah, okay, that's right. So basically, I just copied a new new one in there. Apply it. Okay. So that should actually change where it's sending this stream, right?
Correct. It should.
Okay.
You know what you can do in the future
Yeah.
is set up different profiles so that you can have one that's a CFG profile and one that's for your personal Twitch channel.
Okay, I thought that's what that profile section was for, but I was just basically like, I just need to get this to work for right now.
Right.
Okay. And that Google Doc is you said
The Twitch TeamViewer
ah,
assets.
I'm definitely going to need that. Because my whole plan was I was going to like test the stuff out earlier and stuff, but then I never. It's hard to do these things without guidance, but yeah, like you said, I mean, it'll happen, and maybe this time I'll do it without stumbling around so much. So,
Mm-hmm.
what am I doing? Okay, there we go. So in here trying to the split screen this so I can see everything on one screen, but okay. Let's try this again. So start streaming or should I unhost that guy first?
Uh,
Well, it
it
should
should.
automatically do it, right?
Yep.
Okay. Well, sorry, dude. You're going to get unceremoniously booted for a podcast thing. And 3, 2, 1. Okay. So I believe should be going to the right section now.
Okay. Yep. Yep.
Okay. Good deal. Good deal. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the CrossForge Gaming Podcast, the E3 Special Edition, where we go over all the things that have happened at E3 so far. I'm your host, Anafix. I am joined by the ever-loving Ned. Say hi.
Hello, everybody. Also, Anafix, it should be noted that you are streaming your entire screen rather than just this window.
Okay.
Just letting you know.
Yep. Uh, yes. Okay,
There
that's
we
a good
go.
thing to know. So let's just do it like this. So what have you thought of E3 so far?
You know, a lot of E3, a lot of the announcements so far on EA Play were kind of meh for me. I didn't get to watch Microsoft Live. Of course, there was definitely some things in the Microsoft presentation that were far more interesting to me. Overall, though, I am excited but cautious.
That seems like a good way to be, especially with EA being the start of it. I mean, EA has gotten itself into a lot of trouble this season. But I mean, what are you going to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, EA does have a bit of a history with gamers. I mean, there's a reason it got voted the worst company in America twice.
Twice, huh? I thought it was more times than that for some reason.
It's at least twice. I'm not. It's been a couple of years since I followed that particular competition, but I know it's at least twice. And the fact
Well,
that they beat out Comcast to do it says a lot.
yeah, that does say a lot for sure. Okay, so I guess we'll just start going over what EA did. I believe they started with a Battlefield 5 announcement.
Yes, they started with Battlefield 5. And of course, they did what everyone was expecting and uh, went full hypocrisy mode after the fun they made of Call of Duty for doing the same thing, and that is they are implementing a battle royale mode.
Well, I mean, battle royale modes are where it's at right now, so I guess you couldn't really expect them not to do it. Feel like it'd kind of be shooting themselves in the foot. But I mean, let's see if they can do better than all the billions of people who've done it so far, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure a battle royale mode really fits with the Battlefield ethos. You know, Battlefield is supposed to be the more realistic of the two major franchises. With, Call of Duty is more the arcadey corridor shooter, whereas Battlefield is more about the more realistic Battlefield experience where you have destructible everything and you have a combination of not just ground operations but also sea and air as well.
Yeah, I mean, because you have PUBG, which is basically the more realistic of the big two, and they have like a few vehicles you can ride in, but nothing at the scale that Battlefield has.
Hmm.
I imagine they would have no problem with fulfilling the really large map requirement because they have some of the largest maps out there already. Um, but I don't know, is 100 players enough for the scale of their maps with everything that they can do? That's what I'm wondering.
Well, you'll remember a couple of years ago with Battlefield 4, they really talked up the fact that they could have up to 64 player battles. And now where it was 32 v 32, and now the idea of having, you know, basically 1 versus 99 gameplay has become almost standard. And so I think they can implement it well. I think that's something that DICE is more than capable of doing. What I'm curious about is what other things they're going to include, or how are they going to make it uniquely Battlefield? Because when you take a battle royale mode and you start adding in planes and tanks and sea vehicles, I think that's going to change the dynamic significantly.
Yeah, I'd certainly hope so. I mean, I can just feel the despair of, you're thinking you're doing pretty well, then suddenly you run into someone with a tank. I kind of feel like that might make things a little bit unfair. But I mean, people have shown to be pretty effective against tanks, before, and that's without the battle royals. So I mean, maybe it'll do better this time.
And on top of that, they're also bringing in. Uh, they showed this during the Microsoft Xbox announcement, but they're bringing back war stories from Battlefield 1.
Yes, that's where they delve deeply into specific characters from that time and basically tell tales that have never been told before about them, right?
Right. You had in Battlefield 1, they divided up the single player components where for each component, or each part of the campaign, you had a single character that you inhabited and you went through their story for that part of the campaign. And they had a full story arc. I remember the first one, after you get through the little introductory section, is you're in the tank, Black Bess, which is a British World War One era tank and Mark V tank, and you were going through the village and what was left of the trenches and fighting your way through that, and then you go into the forest and it breaks down, and then you had the infamous pigeon segment you were where you were having to fly the homing pigeon to have the artillery called on your own position. And
That's how they did that back in the day, huh?
yeah, if you wanted to send in an artillery strike in World War One, radio wasn't reliable enough yet. You sent out a homing pigeon from where you were that was trained to fly back to where the artillery crew was with the order.
That's pretty. That's pretty clever, actually. Now that I think about it, I mean, it seems silly because nowadays we just think of pigeons as those birds that eat breadcrumbs and trash in the park, but they were actually pretty useful back in the day, weren't they?
Yeah, the homing pigeon was it was one of the staple forms of communication in World War One. It seems horribly antiquated to us today, but remember, wireless radio was only invented in about 10 years before World War One.
Hmm.
So it was
Yeah.
not a widely adopted technology yet.
So I guess I have to ask this because I don't think I played Battlefield 1 yet. Did they control like those missions where you're flying a drone that has like a camera on it and you have to just kind of guide it where it goes and not let it get destroyed before you get to your target? Is that basically how it works?
Well, for the pigeon segment, that was kind of like how it worked. Um, there was the way they did it is they had little smoke rings in the air that you kind of followed to find the path to where the artillery was. But
I guess that's a bit more subtle than like these floating like red rings like you had in like Pilot
right.
Wings or in similar games like that. So I guess that makes sense. And I guess it didn't ruin the immersion as much as you might think it would.
Well, it was. You can see video of this now. It's all over the internet now. But I remember you're basically having one of the things I liked about that particular war story was you were having this really powerful emotional moment where your position, you are, Black Bess, the tank you're in is stuck in the mud, and the German Kaiser's army are coming in and using the butt stock of their rifles and everything they can to try and hammer into the hatches and to try to get to you in there to to end all of you. And the lieutenant is standing there telling you, you know, send the, send, send the damn pigeon.
Yeah.
And then you release the pigeon, and the entire soundtrack goes quiet, and it gets super peaceful the entire time you're controlling the pigeon. And then the soundtrack comes back into the whole cacophony of war
Yeah.
as soon as you get back to the artillery, and then you watch you have to bring the artillery strike on your position of your character, and you watch it fire, and then you transfer back to your characters and you get to watch the fire incoming on your own position.
Hmm. And I'm presuming it's kind of spoiler at that point, so probably just leave it at that.
Yeah.
That sounds really intense, though.
Yeah,
Huh.
they did a really good job with war stories. And so I'm really I hope EA does a good job with them for Battlefield 5 as well.
Me too. I mean, I might still go and play Battlefield 1 and get that under my belt, but I mean, if I like that one enough, then I'll probably go ahead and go with 5 as well. Especially since the other thing they announced that not only will there be no loot boxes for this, but they will also not have a premium pass for their content, which I think is a step in the right direction, however small or large it might be.
I am glad to see that the DLC is no going to be gated through a premium pass. At the same time, I know this is EA. If EA is dumping one monetization scheme, I guarantee you they have another one waiting in the wings.
I mean, I get it. They're a company, they need to make money, and especially with the secondary market, they have to find new, inventive ways to do so. But if they can successfully find a way to do that and not actually, make people feel dirty about it, like paying to win models, then I think it'll be a good thing. And you can't really fault them for trying to make money at the very least.
Right. In the end, EA, good, bad, otherwise, is a company that has to make money to do what they do. It's just they happen to make money by making video games. Uh, and whatever you think of EA, which personally, I wish they cared more about the people who are actually playing their games. But at the end of the day, we have to remember they are a company and they're going to do what's in their best interest.
Right. Let's just hope their interests align with ours for a change.
That would be nice.
Yeah. All right. So moving on from there, EA started to announce their various sports titles, which don't really change from year to year. They have FIFA 19, NBA Live 19, and Madden 19 available. And really, for the most part, since they're the only ones who make those games for the most part, especially with Madden, since they have no competition whatsoever, they don't have any motivation to really uh, do something special or crazily different from iteration to iteration. So I'm pretty sure it's just going to be more of the same.
Yeah, the big things was with FIFA 19, they're featuring an upgraded version of the Champions League
Okay.
and Ultimate Team modes, but that was really it. Uh, but what they're doing to kind of promote for FIFA 19 is that you can play a free trial of FIFA 18 right now on Xbox One, PC, and PlayStation 4. So,
Okay. So it's like, hey, if you want to have an idea what this game is like, you try this one for free. May not be as good as this one. It may be better than this one. You won't know until you try. It's probably not what
right.
they're thinking at all. um, I don't know. I mean, basically, when I think of FIFA, I think of basically what happens in real soccer, where people like get like bumped or something, and then they act like they have some huge injury or something, just overact, which that actually happens in the game. I've seen like the footage
Mhm.
of that, and then of course the glitches. I love the glitches,
Yeah.
but like the most recent one I saw, like for some reason the soccer ball was just floating behind the one player and just following him around for some reason. I don't know.
My favorite ones in the FIFA franchise are always the ones where, they'll go to kick the ball, and because the way the joint is articulated in the game, like their whole leg does a 360 when they go to do it.
Yeah. Yes, it's always great when they they defy basic anatomy. So I guess it's going to be good for like highlight reel videos and whatnot. But I'm probably going to skip all of these like I have pretty much always. Um,
Yeah. So the the other big thing they announced in the opening part of the show was their new Origin Access Premier service, which
yes,
is supposed to be their official game streaming service that is currently in active development and is going to be an upgrade on their PC Origin Access experience. For those not familiar, Origin Access is a program on PC where you can pay a subscription fee to be able to get access to a portion of the EA Origin library to play and to download and to play as long as you continue the subscription without buying the title outright.
that I can see the appeal in that. I mean, because I can think of a lot of people who use, say, like GameFly, for example, for that purpose. Like, if you can complete a game within a certain amount of time, you're effectively paying less for that game for rather than just buying a new copy and then trading it back in. Because I mean, everyone knows you get like $3 back for your games usually. Um, my one concern about it though is how many different developers and slash companies are coming up with their own game streaming services now. Um, we got like a nice handful, don't we? at least.
Yeah, and so far, pretty much every presentation that's been presented at E3 so far has someone revealing a new game streaming service. So,
And those are basically monthly subscriptions, and you already have so many subscriptions out that are competing for your monthly money. Like you already have like things like Netflix and Hulu and whatnot. Amazon Prime, well, that's more of a yearly thing, I guess, but it's still the same concept. You're already having to pay for Xbox Live, PlayStation Plus, and now they're like, hey, now we're going to have you pay some money so you can play our games without actually having the games. I mean, they're just going to keep tacking things on, and it's like instead of people, cutting the cable like they have been, and reducing their prices, they're going to end up stacking more on, and it's going to be like having cable again.
well, and by the same token, I can understand the appeal of an Origin Access premiere. I can understand the appeal of, you know, if I want access to their whole library and play it whenever I want without having to buy the games, you know, I could I can understand why someone wouldn't want to pay $60 to play a single title when they can pay, 15 bucks a month and play, you know, all the titles on the service.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can see your point there. Um, I guess one other thought I just had. What does this do to the trend of giving free titles every month? I mean, are they looking to maybe phase that part out and phase more of this in, you think? Or is it still two very different and separate things?
Well, I think the point of giving out the free titles every month is more to to act as an enticement to use the service, because once you hand out a free title on the service, anytime anyone wants to play that title, they've got to boot up your service, and every time they boot up, EA Origin, oh look, this title's on sale. Hey, that looks kind of neat. Click, click, click.
Hmm. Yes, it's like putting all those enticing things at checkout lanes. It's
Yeah, it's
basically
the
the same thing.
uh, to use a bit of a well, to use a metaphor, it's the classic the first one's free, right?
Hmm. Yep, that's all it takes to get you hooked. At least that's the idea. I mean, if their games are terrible, that just goes out the window. But
But if you have enough games that enough people are interested in, eventually there's going to be one that they're not going to be able to resist.
hmm, yes, and that's why I am broke.
I mean,
um,
they
yeah.
definitely knew what they were doing. I remember when Battlefield 4, when they were about to put out Battlefield Hardline, they suddenly started putting the Battlefield 4 DLCs up for free once a month in the
Hmm.
build up to Battlefield Hardline. But they offered the base game for Battlefield 4 at a discount, knowing that people getting all these free DLCs, they're going to they have to have the base game to play them. They offer the base game at a discount. They're able to sell more copies of Battlefield 4.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can see how that might work. So, and then the game came out, and well, I mean, it was popular for a while, but wasn't it considered a bit of a disappointment
Yeah,
overall?
Battlefield Hardline was a bit of a disappointment, largely because it wasn't a traditional Battlefield game. That was the whole, you were playing a cop, but you were playing it like you were a soldier, and it was just kind of, there was some, to use the fancy term, there was some ludo narrative dissonance between the gameplay in the game and what the story was supposed to be. And so there was a lot of Hardline was generally considered to be one of the weaker entries in the franchise.
I mean, I guess when you take something as epic in scale as like a world war or even just some sort of modern conflict or whatever, and you kind of shrink it down to like a city and like scale down all your weaponry and all the things you're able to do, I guess that's bound to happen.
I mean, I praise them for trying something innovative, but the thing is, when you try something innovative, it doesn't always stick.
Right. But they need to make need to take risks like that, because if they don't, then their stuff's just going to keep getting stale, and then no one's going to want their games. So then we're back to that point again.
Yep.
Mm.
It's,
So I think it's a good point to go to the next part,
right.
because this is a game you in particular are pretty excited for. They announced Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Uh, Basics of that is it takes place between episode 3 and 4, and you're a Jedi, and I guess things are happening. I mean,
Yeah,
they didn't seem that
they were
descriptive.
rather vague about what exactly it is. It was Vince Zampella from Respawn Entertainment. They're the ones currently working on it, and it's due out holiday 2019. Uh, Rather pointedly, there wasn't a video to accompany this, which makes me think that they may not have gotten the demo ready in time.
Yeah, that seems pretty good. It's just, I guess the concept seems nice, because you're exploring, a part of the Star Wars mythos that has basically been unexplored. I mean, kind of, we're maybe hopefully see what caused the events of Return of the Jedi to turn into the events of The Force Awakens, because you have people forgetting a large chunk of history between then and then, and maybe this will be the chance to see why that happened.
Well, I actually think this is set in the Rogue One time period between Return of the Sith and A New Hope.
Did I read the numbers wrong?
And
I
so,
did.
so yeah, this takes place during what canonically is called the Dark Times between Episode 3 and Episode 4. So this is going to be like the Rogue One-ish time period, but you'll be playing as a Jedi during that time period, which the thing that excites me is I am more than ready to see a return of the Star Wars Jedi series.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
with Respawn Entertainment being the ones doing it, I give Respawn a bit of credit because Respawn, I believe they're the ones who did Titanfall and Titanfall 2, and I think in their hands a Jedi title, a Star Wars Jedi title, would be well handled. Then again, we've also seen how EA can bungle the Star Wars franchise,
Right.
which leads to their next announcement, which was the Battlefront 2 DLC. They're calling it the Han Solo season
Hmm.
because they're, of course, incorporating characters and scenarios from the latest Star Wars movie, Solo: A Star Wars Story. They're going to be adding new modes like extraction to Star Wars Battlefront 2. And they're also going to finally be adding Clone Wars content and new characters like General Grievous, Anakin Skywalker, Count Dooku, and Obi-Wan Kenobi for the first time in the franchise.
Nice. Yeah, that's definitely, if anything's going to generate excitement, it might be that. I'm actually curious how General Grievous would control on this, because he's got the spinny arms with the lightsabers and whatnot, and can he just like completely shred people like the whole time? You just run around doing that, or can he only do that with cooldown ability? Or
They'd have to make it a cooldown ability because otherwise it would be so overpowered.
I'd enjoy it. Well, if I was controlling him anyway, like
Hmm.
being a giant blender.
Or if they did give him that ability, over longer periods of time. General Grievous, kind of his whole thing is that he's weak, or that he has physical ailments. And so it could be that they just give him a very low health pool while making him put out incredible damage.
That seems reasonable. Um, I am I am also curious to see where else they'll take the new Han Solo ones. I mean, we know that the Solo movie wasn't exactly very well received overall. Um, I wonder if this is maybe just an attempt to have them take a second look at that, so people will, maybe appreciate it more, or if they just want to make use of like things that they already have. It's hard telling.
Well, I mean, the fact that EA is the licensee for the Star Wars license for games, of course they're going to want to do integration with any of the videos and movies that come out. Uh, I am excited to see Kessel added as a planet to play on.
Hmm.
Uh, Regardless of where you stand with Solo as a movie, whether you went to see it and you loved it, or you refused to see it because The Last Jedi or what have you, I think it is good that they're acknowledging the movie and that it is being presented with additional content to maybe add some backstory to it. Uh, you know, the Kessel Run is kind of iconic in the Star Wars lore. Some argue that the fact it is so mysterious is part of its mystique, and I would generally agree with that idea. But because Kessel is such a significant world in the Star Wars lore, I'm glad to see it being added here.
Definitely. Now, do you think they'll give players a chance to take on the Kessel Run, or is that just wishful thinking? Yeah, wishful thinking from someone who has yet to even open his copy of the game.
Well, I doubt it. Battlefront 2 did space battles pretty well, but uh, because the Kessel Run was all about uh, hyperspace navigation and how to basically skirt the edge of black holes without actually being pulled in, I'm not sure that's something that would translate well to a game mechanic, particularly the game mechanics of Battlefront 2.
Yeah. Actually, now that you mention it, it sounds like it kind of sucks. uh, um, any other thoughts on this? I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I mean,
Uh, I liked how oblique EA was when talking about how badly they screwed up the launch of Battlefront 2. Yes, we stumbled out of the gate. No, really? You call what happened a stumble? I call that shooting yourself in the foot repeatedly.
yeah. I wonder if Disney might have had something to do with them saying that again. I mean,
Well,
paying them to do this, so
right. Just the whole thing struck me as we promise we'll get it right this time.
well, we'll see if they let's see if they are true to their promise. Okay, so we have next item on the list is Unravel 2, which I'm not very familiar with this one. I mean, it looks like a pretty cute little platformer. I don't know if the two is just referencing the fact that you have two characters or if it's supposed to be a sequel. Um,
It is a sequel. The original Unravel was kind of an indie title that was put out by EA, uh, well, published by EA, and it was basically a platformer where you played a sentient yarn creature that was able to unravel itself to use the yarn to, to do platforming and swinging puzzles. And apparently, in this iteration, in the second one, you have two playable characters that you can either play both of them at once in single player, or you can play in co-op with a friend, to handle the other character.
I feel like playing co-op with a friend might be more fun, or I guess it could just as easily be more frustrating depending on the skill level of your friend.
Hmm.
Uh, but it seems like platformer titles like this one are gaining a bit more steam, as it were. I mean, you've got well, like Cuphead, for example. I think that's basically
Right.
would qualify as a platformer, and that was huge. Um, got games like Ori and the Blind Forest, or its sequel, which will come up later. That was very well received. And then, of course, I mean, Mario. I mean, that was one that probably started it all. I don't know if you can kind of class them the same, but to me, it seems like they're trying to just capture a part of that, and get their piece of the pie there. I mean, I am definitely not very good at platformers, so this one is not particularly jumping out at me.
Yeah, the good news is, though, that if you do want to try out the game, it is available right now. It released as soon as they announced it on Saturday. So it is available now to play.
Wow, that's fast service. uh,
So check
well,
the and it's out today box off your E3 bingo card.
yeah, progress. Uh, moving on to the next one, we have Sea of Solitude. This
Right.
one is
So
an interesting title. Um, it seems to play off of emotions a lot and water, which are two things that plague me all the time.
yeah, I really felt sorry for the lady who, the head of the studio who was giving the presentation. It was obvious she was overwhelmed, and I really felt for her about how it was obvious she was not comfortable up there on stage, and but she gutted her way through it and generally did well. So um, I think this is going to be this is one of the quote unquote EA originals, which I think is the title they're using for their indie projects.
Okay.
And so uh, the studio this is coming from is called Xiaomei.
Hmm. That
Uh,
interesting. I've never heard of that studio.
anyway, the idea is that you are this person, or you're playing this woman who has, because of her loneliness, been turned into a monster, and the game focuses on you dealing with your loneliness along with, uh, trying to become human once again. So
Okay.
a lot of it seems to be you attempting to navigate this mostly submerged and flooded city while
Hmm.
intermittently traversing some of the land.
Okay.
Oh,
I mean,
and for anyone else who's curious, the Bethesda press conference has started, so we'll keep you updated on that as it goes. Right now, they're showing the trailer for Rage 2.
oh, that ought to be fun, especially after how that got leaked.
Right?
um. Well, this is just as good as time any to briefly mention Command and Conquer Rivals,
Whoo boy.
the disappointing um, latest addition to the franchise. Basically, it's a mobile game, which is probably not where anyone saw this series going to. And just looking at some of the footage of there, a friend of mine made a joke that it was Command and Katonker because it kind of looks like Settlers of Catan because of the whole hex pieces thing. But
Yeah.
I don't I don't know what would possess them to virtually take such a huge step backward in this series like this.
Yeah, the outrage on Twitter and elsewhere was palpable about Command and Conquer Rivals. The way they presented it too was really weird. Um, again, tick off another box on your E3 bingo card for uncomfortably long gameplay.
Yeah.
where they supposedly had these two high-level gamers playing each other in this mobile RTS title, and then they revealed that it's Command and Conquer, and you're just a lot of the Command and Conquer fans who've been waiting for a sequel for so long were really, really disappointed that this was the next iteration of the Command and Conquer series. And I mean, all you have to do is go to Twitter and search for Command and Conquer, and uh, you will greatly exceed your daily recommended allowance of salt.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, I mean, we've seen franchises come back from worse, haven't we?
We have, but man, I know they say it's darkest just before the dawn, but this is awful dark.
Yeah.
I guess
Well,
the good news, if there is good news in this case, is the fact that the pre alpha for this game is available on Android right now. And it will be coming to both Android and iOS.
yeah. So Apple users can suffer along with us Android guys. Oh man,
Indeed. And that
now I'm
led
sad,
into, of course, the part that everyone was really psyched about.
especially
Well,
me.
as psyched as you could be for anything EA was going to produce. And that was the new BioWare title, which is Anthem.
I went into this not knowing anything about Anthem. I was just thinking, man, they gave up on Mass Effect for some other series. And I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to hate this because how dare they give up on Mass Effect? But I watched uh, I watched the two trailers that they had. Like one of them, I think, was just basically just like a cinematic one, and then they had the gameplay one.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to play this game now. It looks amazing.
Yeah, definitely appeals to your inner Iron Man.
Yeah.
Um, I kind of wanted to, after watching this, go make a meme that was the, hey, can I copy your homework? Sure, just change it up a little so that no one notices. And then put Destiny 2 and Anthem side by side.
Well, yes, I definitely was making the Destiny comparisons to this, but I feel like there was still something different. It still had a different feeling to me. Um, I think for me it was the movement. If that makes any sense. Well, I guess I could explain myself. That would probably make more sense. See, in Destiny, you basically your options are running and timing jumps to get to like a limited distance area, or
Mm-hmm.
you can ride around on a sparrow and sometimes ramp and then jump off to get to a far distance. But in this one, it looks like you can outright fly, and not only that, you can seamlessly get yourself underwater straight from air with no slowdown. So it seems like there's no limit to how you can traverse the world.
Yeah, I will give them props on that. That does look like an interesting mechanic.
Hmm.
Um, and I really, really hope that this game will be the one that pulls BioWare out of the creative slump that was Mass Effect Andromeda.
Definitely.
But at the same time, I have to keep in the back of my mind that this is EA.
Hmm.
So it could be entirely possible that they have pushed BioWare to get this out the door before it's really ready, which is what we saw before with Mass Effect Andromeda.
Yeah, that does concern me. I'll admit it. Though I guess they mentioned that it's not going to have PvP on the release, which that doesn't concern me as much because I would rather do co-op all day than do PvP because usually I'm on the receiving end of a beatdown. But then again, I'm probably in a minority there because people are like, no, we got to kill each other and got to get that kill to death ratio up and all that. But I don't know. I still think it looks awesome, and I'm definitely willing to give it a try. Especially since there's no loot crates or pay to win mechanics in there. Again, just cosmetic microtransactions. So they're really sticking to that principle, it seems.
Well, I figure that EA, after getting so burned with Battlefront 2 last year and being accused of pay to win and getting literally the most downvotes in Reddit history for their response to it, they're going to be real careful for the next year or two about even the appearance of pay to win mechanics.
Oh, naturally, because you know how it is. The appearance of evil is still evil in the eyes of people.
Yep.
Um, but I mean, even though they actually did show us quite a bit in that, I feel like there's still a lot that they have not showed us. I mean, there's got to be more than just like two different character classes for one thing. And it's looking like you're going to have a healthy assortment of different weapons and stuff. I'm kind of hoping it's like I am kind of hoping it's like Destiny in that aspect where like you're going around like killing things and then you get like random drops because I love the feeling of looting stuff and then just like looting like a legendary item. I
Hmm.
mean, I've loved that since Diablo 2 and I'm going to keep loving it because that's what I do.
Yes, we all love a good loot pinata.
Well, you seem to a lot more than most, but then again, you always have the uh the long game in mind with that because it's like, yeah, we'll see. Yes, I am killing myself with all this weight I'm carrying, but later on, it's going to be great. Just trust me.
Because I can grind all this into, whatever material components and use it to make the stuff I actually want.
Yeah. Which I mean, I don't see this game doing that, but it doesn't have to be Fallout because let Fallout be Fallout.
Right. Yeah, I am interested to see what the other two classes look like because we saw them, but we only had two classes actually discussed or detailed. And those were the two that we saw in the original trailer last year, the Ranger and the Colossus.
Hmm.
The Ranger looks to be the balanced mid-range. This is the starting suit you probably want to play class. And then you have the Colossus, which is more ranged and but has all the big heavy weapons.
Hmm. And all the armor.
Right.
'Cause, I mean, because that guy, he just jumped in the middle of that battle and it's just like, it's like, you guys shooting me? I can't tell. But
And then popped out that grenade launcher and just laid waste.
yeah. Well, then the Ranger had that crazy, like, spread missile attack. It's just like, I'll just take care of this enemy way by myself.
Hmm.
I mean, I gotta wonder, like, how they're implementing that. I mean, no, that's probably some sort of cooldown move. It's gotta be. There's
Yeah.
no way that just lets you shoot, like, tons of missiles at things repeatedly like that. I mean, this isn't Mech Warrior or whatever. Oh, Armored Core. That's what I meant. Armored Core. That takes me back.
Mm.
Um,
And the other two that we didn't get to see a lot of, they had the Storm, which reminds me a lot of the Warlock in Destiny. The whole kind of flying around, shooting out lightning.
I always like throwing a good lightning bolt or two. And then there's the other one. I mean, you didn't really get to see what the other two did. They just sort of dropped in and then they all jumped in that portal thing and then that was it.
Yeah, pretty
So
much.
they're still
But
leaving us wanting. I mean, that's good. I mean, cuz you don't want people to know everything right away.
exactly.
But I want to try this out and if my friends are going to try it out then I definitely want to because I already without having like the right system to play with, I already missed like a lot of good multiplayer opportunities. So I definitely need to like kind of get in there on that.
So that pretty much covers everything that happened at EA Play. And that was on Saturday. And today there have been so far two. There's been the Microsoft show, which we're going to discuss here a bit, and there was quite a bit shown. Of course, right now we have the Bethesda presentation, which is still ongoing as we speak. Uh, I've been kind of watching it on the side while we've been going, and so
Yeah.
far they've talked about Rage 2. They've talked about the Elder Scroll Legends,
Ooh.
which is the strategy card game. Apparently, that's coming to consoles.
Oh. Had me intrigued there for a moment.
And now they're talking about the Elder Scrolls Online. So,
Okay, so they're just adding more to that. That's encouraging. But you know, you know what everybody is wanting to hear about though.
oh yes, everybody wants the Elder Scrolls 6.
Yes. Question is, will they finally give it to us or
Well,
there's
uh,
nothing else they can release Skyrim on right now. I mean, not until like the PS5 and the Xbox 2 or whatever.
uh,
Or
so I have a conspiracy theory, and by the time this goes live, it may be proven completely wrong. But given the fact that during the Microsoft trailer or the Microsoft presentation for Xbox, they
yeah.
were willing to let them have the Fallout 76 trailer, means they've got to have something. They've got to have something else big that they're going to announce.
Yeah, I think that is very plausible. Um I mean obviously it's to their advantage to show it off on the most powerful console for one thing, but they're not going to just give away their biggest gun. So you'd have to think there is a bigger gun out there.
Yeah, I wouldn't put my money on the Elder Scrolls 6, but it wouldn't surprise me if they have something big to announce tonight other than just Fallout 76.
So let's see, what could that possibly be? I guess it could potentially be a new IP. It could be a
There
new revived one, like that they haven't done in a while. Um, like what could they possibly do?
so Bethesda Game Studios, or excuse me, ZeniMax Media, a while back for Bethesda Game Studios, trademarked an IP called Starfield.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Okay.
And so there's been a lot of speculation that we may finally see Starfield presented here at E3. So that's the potential big gun we could see.
Okay. Of course, we have nothing to go on as to what that's about other than a name, right? At this point.
Right.
So
It's
we're just
supposed to be
assuming
like
it's a space thing. Yeah.
a science fictiony IP in a science fiction epic in the same size as uh, ESO. Oh, they just announced another Doom game, Doom Eternal.
Nice. Well, I mean, that just makes sense because after how well Doom was received, the last installment was received. I mean, you knew they'd have to bring another one out. Hmm. Well, I suppose we could go right into the Microsoft Fallout 76 announcement since
Yeah,
we're already right in the middle of the Bethesda stuff.
right. So the Fallout 76 announcement, what was actually said during the presentation about Fallout 76 was fairly minimal. Um,
Yeah,
there was the actual trailer, and they said that it was going to be an absolutely massive game that's going to be 4 times the size of Fallout 4.
that's really saying something there.
Because it wasn't. Fallout 4 was not a small game.
No, I mean, I've been watching you play it. I kind of gathered that by now.
I mean, even without the DLCs, the main map was bigger than Fallout 3, and I think bigger than New Vegas. So that this is going to be 4 times that size is is quite an accomplishment in and of itself.
Right. Now,
And
Fallout 4. Sorry, just a quick aside here. Fallout 4, was it basically just all over New England, or was it just in like a couple specific states? Or
well, Fallout 4 was largely focused on the area around Boston, Massachusetts, or at least the Fallout universe's version of Boston, Massachusetts,
okay,
and part of what's called the Commonwealth, which is what we would today call, Massachusetts.
okay,
Although the Far Harbor DLC takes place in Bar Harbor, Maine, and the other DLCs, it's kind of less. It's not exactly said where exactly they take place. Nuka World is supposedly over the mountains, but it's never exactly stated where.
okay. Well, because that just kind of gives you a sense of scale of what Fallout 4 is. So you're saying, because they're saying, 76 is 4 times that size. So that's like, what, like 4 states worth of, area.
Well, yeah. I mean, the fact that it's
Um,
going to be set in Virginia, West Virginia, supposedly, it makes sense that this is going to be a huge area.
just makes me wonder, like, how are they going to handle, traversing this? Because, I mean, it takes forever to walk anywhere in this game as it is. And with it being so much larger, are they going to have some sort of vehicles, like ride some sort of like mutant horse or something? You think? I mean,
Well, it's going to be kind of hard to say. We do know that there's probably going to be certain types of enemies that won't appear. We're probably not going to see super mutants because in the Fallout lore, super mutants don't really exist until the 20, like the around 2150 or so, and this is going to be taking place in 2102.
okay. Yeah, because this is like right at the beginning. This is the first one that opened up or something, right?
Right. This is so Fallout 76 and it focuses on Vault 76, which was supposedly in the lore one of the control vaults, which opened up after 20 years. Now, for some reason, the game is starting us 25 years after the bombs fell, which we don't really know why. Uh, our our friend of the channel, Andrew Mead, thinks that likely something has gone horrifically wrong
Hmm.
because, well, it's Fallout.
Well, yeah, I guess Fallout's known for things going horrifically wrong. Um, but I mean, I think they gave enough for people to be intrigued, and we're probably just looking for them to give us even more. So,
Indeed.
um, who knows? They may even do what the other presentations are doing and actually give us more 76 stuff, like here during this presentation that's going on right now.
Indeed. I really hope they do.
Yeah, because I mean, from what basically what we've seen already is the type of stuff we already know from previous Fallout games. I mean, everyone recognizes that power armor.
Yep,
I
that's a
mean, so we know how that's going to
T-51B.
work. Of course, see, that's going to be interesting though, because it's a prequel, and I wouldn't see them having more advanced power armor than Fallout 4 would, but I don't know how that works.
Right. Uh, so yeah, I think this being set right after the vault opens. Yeah, I think a lot of what we're going to be seeing is going to be, uh, pre-war stuff that has been salvaged. So expect to see lots of T-45s and T-51s. I wouldn't expect much in the way of T-60. You might find the occasional XO-1 suit, though.
Okay. I guess that would make sense because, they have prototypes and whatnot.
Right.
And of course, that cinematic trailer, also leaves me with one question. Why did that guy just stand there and watch the explosions come towards him like that? Seems
Well,
like a terrible idea.
the T-51B, it provides you a significant amount of radiation and armor protection, but uh, with a nuclear blast that close, there is a pressure wave that comes off the blast.
Yeah.
It's obvious the pressure wave you see in the trailer. The pressure wave knocks him down, and he goes to shield himself before he gets hit by the heat wave that follows after it. That close to the blast, within a couple of miles, it doesn't matter what you're wearing, you're going to get incinerated. You are going to die.
Yeah. I mean, and that initial pressure wave, doesn't that also have like EMP embedded in it and like knock out electronics and whatnot?
It
Or
can, but as you find out in the Operation Anchorage DLC for Fallout 3, they
yeah.
eventually figured out how to shield the power armor from that kind of damage. But
Oh,
if this was an early T-51B, it may not have had that shielding.
probably. And then you see your guy just go ahead and pick up that armor and put it on, even though so many people just walk by it for some reason.
Well, it could be that it was just not a priority for other people, or that they thought, well, it's probably just an old, broken, rusted out Hulk. There's no way I can use it.
Hmm. Oh, but then again, the whole thing where it starts out 5 years after it opened.
Hmm.
I'm wondering if those first people were like the other people we haven't accounted for yet.
May have been. We don't really know.
Yeah, because there has to be some way for the character you control to separate himself from the others,
Hmm.
or herself, I guess. Like either by being cryogenically frozen or driven out by people trying to shoot you to death. That one's always popular.
Yep.
But then again, I mean, I did kind of kill the director or whatever his name is, but I mean, he was angry at me and was trying to kill me. What else was I supposed to do?
Right.
I mean, and then his daughter got mad at me for some reason. And it's like the same thing. It's like, what was I supposed to do? He was trying to kill me, and didn't let me kill her. I mean, that's probably good. I would have been incredibly guilty if I did that, but I don't know. um,
So let's see. There were several other things that were announced during the Microsoft announcements.
yes.
Of course, the big title that they opened with was Halo Infinite. Got a teaser that had, in very small letters at the bottom, game engine demonstration.
Which is another way of saying tech demo, right?
Pretty much. And of course, they slapped at the end a big featuring the new Slip Space engine.
Which doesn't mean anything to me.
Right. And so there was a lot of there was a lot of outrage from what I understand. I haven't played Halo since I think Halo 3 or Halo Reach.
It's been Halo 4 for me. I because I never jumped to the Xbox One to play 5, which I heard was pretty bad. Um, but yeah, basically the trailer consisted of gorgeous looking environments. You got to see like textures all at work and like environmental effects going everywhere, and then you got to see wildlife running around, and eventually you got to see a warthog driving around, and of course you got to see the Master Chief again, who they just won't let retire, and he looked incredibly polished. Like you could see the environment reflected off of his visor. So that I mean that was pretty impressive looking. But there wasn't really any substance other than that. It's just more like, hey, we're working on a new Halo. Are you guys impressed? No, not really.
Yeah,
Especially after the last outing.
yeah. After the way Halo 5 was received, I think there's a lot of skepticism about Halo Infinite, and perhaps rightfully so. And given that we weren't given a whole lot of substance in this trailer, and I mean, yes, they displayed the Master Chief and his helmet very prominently. I really don't think the problem with Halo 5 was lack of Master Chief.
Yeah, certainly not.
It, I think, I mean, heck, for me, two of the best Halo games were the two that had no Master Chief in them at all, which was Halo 3 ODST and Halo
Yeah,
Reach.
right. Yeah, I mean those were both excellent titles. Well, I mean, and the Halo series was excellent pretty much straight through. I just kept getting better and better, and then when Bungie left it, that's when things started to go wrong. Um, but yeah, I mean, they've already shown that they can make a good Halo game without Master Chief. I don't know if 343 is confident enough to try without him at this point. Because I mean, the first thing they did was bring him back from something that we really shouldn't have come back from, and now he's back. See, I don't even know how Halo 5 concluded, so I'm not even sure why he's where he is. I'm not even sure where he is and why he's just standing there. Though I don't ever recall him having his helmet off before in the series, so that's something, I guess.
Yeah, it is something interesting.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
Yes?
So, apparently, they just announced a free update to Prey and a new. I don't know if it's a new game, but it's available for download tonight. The new Moon Crash DLC.
Huh. Well, that's certainly something. Free DLC, huh?
Apparently,
I mean, that'd be worth looking into just to see, what it's about. I mean, I don't have the game, but I guess injecting fresh blood into an uh, older game is always welcome. I mean, if the game's welcome itself. Hmm. Still
and
feel like they're holding back a little bit.
also a new Wolfenstein title.
That's
Okay,
definitely welcome, from what I've heard. I heard like the last one was pretty incredible.
indeed.
Just from the footage I've seen and just from the things I've heard people say, I mean, it really hits you hard, and then it's just very gripping, like all the way through.
Right.
They do something else?
Uh, that's kind of what I'm trying to keep track of.
Okay. Well, Microsoft announced that they were going to be bringing Ori and the Will of the Wisps to Xbox One, and which that series has actually been a very well received series, more known for being on Steam, I think, than any particular console. But they showed off a trailer that looked absolutely gorgeous.
Yes.
So
I remember Ori and the Blind Forest, and Ori and the Will of the Wisps looks like it takes everything that was great about that game and turns it up to 11.
yep, that's pretty much the conclusion I came up with as well. Um, I haven't had a chance to play either of them yet, but that franchise, I think, definitely could use more exposure because it's a very good game, and I think it actually has been underplayed a bit. I think more people definitely need to play it.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Let's see. Trying to see if there
The
was anything different other than like the graphics on this one. But it's not listening to me. I have my
right.
tiny little second screen since my other screen decided it didn't want to cooperate with me. So that's fun.
Uh,
Oh, okay. So I guess it's actually going to be able to run at 4K Ultra HD. So that would explain why it looks so good. And
okay.
I guess you're also able to fly. And this time with help of an owl. So that's flying always makes things interesting in games.
That it does.
Like in Battlefield where you try to fly a helicopter and just kind of at
Right.
least that's how I fly with that. Um so the next game that they premiered is this game called Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. It seems to have an ancient Japanese setting, and it's made by From Software. I'm not sure if they've done things with samurais before, but it looks pretty action heavy to me from what little I've seen.
Well, it being from Software, you know there's going to be some Dark Souls influence.
Hmm.
I mean, it does look like it's going to be a very beautiful and very interesting game.
Yeah, so that means they're probably going to have a field day with Japanese mythology.
Indeed.
We're going to have plenty of like demon spirits and well, both good and bad, I'd imagine.
Right.
I'm wondering how if they're going to continue with the whole grotesque creature design that they're known for, or if they're gonna go like a more like traditional Japanese, uh, design with that. But that'll be interesting. That seems like something that Nolan would end up playing for everyone.
Yeah, it's just watching the trailer. It certainly looks like it will be and something very Souls like because it shows in the trailer they show the player character getting killed and then basically coming back and having to do the come back to slay the boss once again.
Okay, so that's basically suggesting that it is a Souls game with a different name.
I think so, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm sure that they're going to throw some different things into the mix. I mean, they don't make everything absolutely the same.
Right.
Let's see, and then they've got, let's see, the Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit, which I
So,
guess it's part of the Life is Strange universe.
yes, so it's apparently a father-son tale set in the Life is Strange universe.
Okay,
Uh, I don't know if this is being made by Don't Nod, which made Life is Strange, but they
and
say it's going to
yeah,
release digitally and be completely free on a permanent basis for everyone on June 26th.
now that's interesting. I wonder why they did that.
It's a good question.
It's making me wonder, like, is this like a really short game? Is this just like a preview to like another Life is Strange game, or I
Hmm,
don't know.
not sure.
I never really played the Life is Strange games. That genre hasn't really pulled me in. But I mean, it seems like a lot of people enjoyed it because they made several of them. So I guess we'll just have to see on that one. Um, they dropped another Crackdown 3 trailer, and They employed the great tactics of, the acting of Terry Crews, who everyone knows as a really buff guy who is hilarious and completely random. And of course, they have him playing an equally buff guy who blows stuff up. And I don't know. I mean, Crackdown. The Crackdown series has been a bit of a ride like the whole time. So who knows what we're going to expect from this one other than the numerous delays that it's already had.
Indeed. And, a lot of people say, oh, well, the only reason Crackdown 2 sold anything was because it had the Halo beta attached to it. Uh, well, yes and no, but I'm excited to see where they're taking this for Crackdown 3 because it looks like they're taking the Saints Row approach to this, where it's just going to be crazy, over the top, giving you a bunch of superpowers and saying, go nuts.
I can't really fault that approach. That just sounds like a lot of fun.
Speaking of going nuts,
Uh-oh.
on the Bethesda stream, they made fun of themselves by saying they were about to release Skyrim for Alexa, for Motorola pagers, and for Samsung refrigerators.
Wow. They've got to be going somewhere with that, though.
And okay, now they're rolling Fallout 76. So
Okay.
they're rolling the Fallout 76 trailer again. So
Okay.
we'll come back after that finishes.
Yeah. Let's hope they're just doing that to refresh anyone who hadn't gotten it before.
Right.
Microsoft announced that Near Automata is coming to Xbox One, which that was actually a pretty well received game on like the different platforms it's already been on. I guess this one's going to have 4K Ultra HD and HDR on the Xbox One X. So basically, it sounds like it's just going to be a visual upgrade, and it's also going to finally hit Xbox players because I think it was just like a PS4 thing for the most part the first time around. I
Yep.
was almost hoping that it was going to be like a sequel or something announced, but I had forgotten that Xbox didn't really get this one before.
Right.
Telling you, when I play this game, I am going to give the character Mackerel because apparently that has an interesting effect on the game.
Okay. I'm. It's not a game I've followed or paid a lot of attention to, so I'm afraid I'm not of much use in that regard.
Okay, so you're basically playing like this robot, and you have swords and stuff. And interesting is this game has part like bullet hell shooter mechanics on it, but then the majority of it is like it's like action. So like you're doing combos and whatnot, and and since you're a robot, you can upgrade yourself by doing like different chips and stuff. And so one of the interesting things about that is you can actually end a game prematurely by that token. Like if you pull out your CPU, then you die and you get a game over. So that's fun. And then if you eat mackerel, your body actually can't process that fish for some reason. So it causes your systems to shut down and you die and it's a game over. But I just want to do it because it's funny. Um, I mean, it's in some places it's like open world, and in some places you have like a 2D perspective where you're side scrolling and platforming and stuff. I've seen it streamed a few times. I mean, it looks like a lot of fun. It's just not something I have been able to obtain just yet. So it'll be good that the Xbox players are getting this one because it's definitely it's not a game that you should miss really if you're on those consoles.
Good to know.
Let's see here. So the next one on the list is Metro Exodus.
Yes. So anyone who's played Metro 2033 or Metro Last Light, this is the sequel to those games. So the first two Metro games took place in the Metro systems of what used to be Moscow
Okay.
before a worldwide cataclysm basically forced all humanity underground. So Metro Exodus is about you attempting to escape the metro and eventually making your way across Russia to uh, I don't remember the exact name, but there's a place you are heading toward, and like all the other Metro games, it focuses a lot on everything that happens with the various factions and how you relate to those factions, and you have decisions about what to make or how to proceed. Anyway, that's very poorly explained, but it is coming to Xbox One on February 22nd, 2019.
Now, this is a first-person shooter, isn't it?
It is.
Okay.
It's a post-apocalyptic first-person shooter. It's based on the Russian novel Metro 2033.
Okay.
So there is that as well.
All right.
I have
That's
I've read the English translation of that book, and it's similar to, but not exactly the same as the game by the same name.
oh. All right. I said I'm not incredibly well versed with the Metro series, so just have to take your word for it, and I don't know, just keep an eye on the trailers because I mean, if it's got yet another title, it's probably been doing pretty good so far.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this next game on the list is one that I have been, well, I and many people have been waiting for well, over 10 years, or was it 15 at this point?
I think it actually probably is closer to 15.
Yeah. Yeah. Kingdom Hearts 3. After all this time, they gave an actual release date for it, which I seem to have misplaced. But it is in February of 2019. So it did get pushed back a little bit. And it looks like it could be, I guess it's possible it could be pushed back more, but this time with all the things that they have shown in the trailer, it seems like they're actually, if not in possession of a fully made game, a lot closer than the videos we've seen before.
Yeah,
Now that,
what we see in that engine there, or what we see in that demo, that
yeah,
trailer, looks a whole lot more complete than anything we've seen before.
definitely. Um, and like one of the worlds that they feature prominently in the trailer is the world of Frozen,
At some
which
point, you'd think they'd just let it go.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think it'll probably be a little bit more tolerable because there's probably I don't see there being a whole lot of singing, if any, because the only time that they've really done that in the Kingdom Hearts series was in Kingdom Hearts 2, where when you went to Atlantica, instead of forcing you to use the horrible water movement controls, they just basically made that whole world a rhythm game.
Huh.
So that was pretty musical. I mean, it was kind of fun, I guess, for what it was, but I mean, it's more of a diversion than anything. Um, on this one, I mean, they showed off some of the abilities that they have shown off before, where like you can turn your keyblade into like different weapons or whatnot. Uh, of particular note is in the frozen level, it appears that you can actually cover like your limbs with like sharp ice or whatever, which allows for different things like roller skating and well, cutting people with sharp bits of ice down your hands. Um, that's not a very good visual description, of course, but if you're familiar at all with the series, you know that Kingdom Hearts has featured some pretty dynamic real time combat while you're fighting. So you're able to do a lot of flips and combos and stuff. And of course, summons this time around seem to take, in a lot of cases, take the form of uh, Disneyland rides, which is interesting. Um, I mean, just everything looks like fun at this point, and I'm really looking forward to playing this one. But since it's so far out yet, I can wait to pre-order it. It's cool.
Yeah,
I've waited 15 years. I can wait a few months longer.
right.
Let's see. It also has shown some returning characters like Hercules, and I think I saw Simba in there and all
Hmm.
that. So that's going to be interesting. I wonder if they're going to have a Coliseum mode in this one too. I mean, you'd think they would because they've had it in both Kingdom Hearts and Kingdom Hearts 2, which probably means you have to fight Sephiroth again, and I'm not looking forward to that because he was really hard. Though it felt so good to beat him in the second one. I didn't try in the first one. Um, did you ever really play this series growing
No,
up?
it wasn't exactly a priority, honestly, for me. Mostly because Kingdom Hearts used to be Sony exclusive,
Yeah.
and I wasn't ever an owner much of the Sony consoles.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That's basically why there's such a gap in my Nintendo game playing. So I can understand that. Um, but I still feel like there's a lot of things we don't know about this game yet, and
Right.
that's good because you definitely have plenty of things to do if it's anything like the previous installations. So that I think this is going to be a great game if it ever releases. um, so moving on to the next bit, Sea of Thieves is getting more content, which is good because it's really content light at this point. Uh, the content, and there's one called The Cursed Sails and The Forsaken Shore. I'm not entirely certain what that's going to add to the game, but at this point, it needs something.
Yeah. Uh, Sea of Thieves. It's not a game I have played, but it's my understanding from people who do that it it is, what was the term? It is a mile wide and about an inch deep.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can only eat bananas and fire yourself out of a cannon so many times before you're wondering why you're doing it.
Pretty much.
It's
And
just an yeah.
when most of the gameplay consists of a sequence of fetch quests, that's going to get old pretty quick.
Oh, definitely. Especially given some of the things you have to work with, just sailing out on the open sea like that,
Hmm.
like krakens and other ships. And okay, I guess that's all I got.
Yeah, it's at least there are two expansions coming, and I suppose that's good for the game. But I wonder at this point if it's going to matter.
Well, I mean, if it knocks people's socks off, then yeah, it'll. Well, anything less than that, and it's probably just going to get worse from here.
Yep.
Let's see. So Microsoft showed off a Battlefield 5 trailer, which it just basically went through one of single player scenarios and just really showcased like the music and the acting of the characters in there. Um, so I guess watch that trailer because I don't think I can reenact it. I mean, I can act pretty decently, but I'm not that good.
But yeah, I'm glad to see War Stories making a return, like I said earlier.
Mhm.
And I think this trailer is indicative that it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. So I figure at this point, um, EA showed a trailer for Battlefield, and then Microsoft showed a different trailer for Battlefield. I'd imagine that Sony is going to show yet another trailer for it. So we'll see what that brings to the table. But other than that, I think we've pretty well covered what they have, what they brought to the table so far.
Yep.
Okay,
Let's see.
Forza Horizon 4 is the next thing that they announced. Which, uh, if you know anything about this game, this is a very realistic racing simulator, full of lots of exotic vehicles, plenty of different like customization options, and very gorgeous visuals. And of course, this one does not disappoint. It has a 60 frames per second mode, which that's going to look amazing
Mm-hmm.
since all the other ones have just been 30.
Right.
And it's coming out on October 2nd of this year, so it looks like they are pretty far along in the project. So I imagine at this point they're probably just doing bug fixes and whatnot. Um, so I mean, if you're into that series, I mean, that's definitely one to look out for.
Yep. And given that it's going to be in a shared open world Britain this time, I think that's going to make for an interesting racing dynamic.
Oh, definitely, because their road system is a lot different. Though I hope you don't have to go through too many of those traffic circles. I feel like I feel like that's just going to make me angry, as if racing games themselves don't make me angry enough.
Right.
But let's see.
Apparently, Microsoft acquired quite a few studios recently, including
Yes.
Ninja Theory.
Oh, that's something. Um, as you guys know, Ninja Theory, or you may not know, but Ninja Theory is known for. I think is it the Dead or Alive series?
Um,
I believe
that's a
so,
good
or like
question.
Ninja Gaiden, I think as well. Like all those things. Like because usually they're known for like heavy action, I believe.
Let's see. Oh, that's right. So they did the Devil May Cry reboot in 2013, along with Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice was their most recent game.
Ah, that one was very well received. So
Let's
I'm Microsoft probably liked what they saw in that game and said, "Hey, we want you to do that for us." Because Microsoft's been struggling with like the exclusive titles these days.
hmm And in addition to Ninja Theory, they'd acquired four other studios: The Initiative, Undead Labs, Playground Games, and Compulsion Games.
Yeah, see, those ones I haven't heard of. I mean, Ninja Theory seemed pretty. I mean, that one like stood out to me out of all of those. Are you familiar with any of those studios?
Um, so The Initiative, I know a little bit about. They're based out of Santa Monica, and they're led by Daryl Gallagher, who's famous for the Tomb Raider series.
Okay, so is that? I'm wondering if that's like pre Square Enix, or if that also includes like, or rather, I should say pre reboot.
Right.
Uh, because, well, I mean, I the series has been pretty popular for a long time. It's just the reboot, just I think, brought it back to where it was and probably beyond that. So I mean, it's hard to say. So it's hard to say like what level of quality you got there. Like, is it like the classic Tomb Raider quality, or is it like the new Tomb Raider quality, which is like way above what the original ever could have hoped to be?
Okay. So apparently, Daryl was the head of Crystal Dynamics, who was making the Tomb Raider games before the reboot.
Okay, so that gives you a better idea of of some of his capabilities, I'd say.
So Undead Labs is the maker of State of Decay. Ninja Theory, of course, made Hellblade. And Compulsion Games is maker of another one of the games that we're going to talk about. And it's actually the next one on the list. We Happy Few.
Yeah. Is that one where everyone takes happy pills and you're the one person who stopped and then you have to try to make your way through the game and not let anyone know that you stopped taking them?
Pretty much.
Okay. That one, it's got some creepy character designs and stuff, and it's a lot of hallucinating going on, to say the least. Uh, that says it's going to come out in August, and of course support 4K Ultra HD. That seems to be like something they keep wanting us to know. You know, their games can go to 4K Ultra HD.
Right.
So at this point, we'll just go ahead and say it. If Xbox is announcing a game that doesn't go into 4K Ultra HD, they are underperforming.
Oh, quick update from the
Yeah,
Bethesda. They just announced that the date for Fallout 76 is November 14th
this year.
of this year, of 2018. So Fallout 76 is
Wow,
coming out November 14th.
wow. So they've gotten quite a bit done with that. Then, how
It
old is
certainly.
Fallout 4?
I'm sorry?
How old is Fallout 4?
It came out in 2015. So they've had 3 years to work on it at least.
Okay, that's a significant. Oh, excuse me. That's a significant amount of time for sure.
Hmm.
But well, that's good. So now you have a time frame on when you're gonna have to switch games.
Pretty much.
So coming this fall, Fallout 76 as played by Ned.
Indeed.
That's a related question on that. You have a gun called the Spirit of 77. Is that referring to a year or a vault number?
Okay, so that's a good question. Um, it's me basically being nerdy about guns. So
Okay.
the the rifle that's used to model the hunting rifle in Fallout 4. The hunting rifle is modeled after a rifle called the Ruger Model 77.
All right.
And the why I know it's why we know that is because the Ruger Model 77 is a left-handed fired rifle, which is why the bolt is on the left-hand side in the game because they modeled it after the Model 77, which is why you can rack the bolt while with only one hand when firing it right-handed. Now, the actual Model 77 you can't fire that way. Well, technically you can, but it's going to be extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But that's why the bolt is on the wrong side in the game.
Okay.
And so I
Hmm.
call it the Spirit of 77 because I know it's modeled after the Ruger Model 77.
Yeah. But now that I think about, since I now know what Vault 77 is, I think it'd be more disturbing if you named it after the vault, because then I don't even know what weapon you would name after that. You know.
Right.
Sorry, that's just how my mind works sometimes. Okay, so apparently PUBG is getting a new war mode this winter, and it looks to give a more intimate and intense experience than the traditional battle royale mode. I have no idea what that means. Um, Care to weigh in on that, possibly, or
I haven't. I really don't know what the aim of that is. And having watched the trailer, I don't really know. I'm not sure I understand.
yeah, I pretty much got the same thing. I mean, I'm not sure intimate is a word I would use to describe trying to kill 99 people.
Right?
That makes you sound more like a serial killer, actually.
Yeah.
But then again, that is kind of the basis for the concept of battle royale, because it's basically a large amount of people who society has decided that they need to be punished somehow, and they have to kill each other.
Hmm.
Um, that's the very stripped down Anifix version of that explanation. Uh, so yeah, so even in the midst of them trying to blame Fortnite for all their troubles, they are still trying to make new content for the game. So that's good. It seems like
Yeah.
they really ramped up like the new content once they went on the Xbox, though.
Well, they know that even though the PC is where they started, they know that the larger player bases tend to be on the consoles.
Right. So, so I mean, if you're one of those people who are definitely into PUBG, keep a lookout for that. It'll be coming out here before the year's over, and then you'll get more ways to kill people. I'm assuming. Uh,
And they did tease a new quote unquote winter map at the end of the trailer, but nothing was actually said about it. So,
it's like you guys will just have to wait and see.
pretty much.
Okay. They are releasing Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition. Definitive editions usually involve having like the previously offered DLC included on the disc, and
Right.
I'm assuming it's going to have more crisp graphics since it's on the Xbox One and stuff. I mean, the Tales series is actually a pretty popular RPG series. Um, I really fell behind with it because it seems like they release them really fast. Like they've released so many, as like I don't know if I can even catch up at this point.
I mean,
Um,
I played several of these. Honestly, the newest one I played, this is how far behind I am, was Tales of Symphonia.
Me too. In fact, I didn't even play that till it came to the PlayStation because they released it with its direct sequel, and I started playing on that, and then I just stopped playing it. Um, I mean, it's a good game. It's just for some reason I have this flaw that when I play an RPG and get to the end, I just stop playing it for a while. But this time it's been over a year, so I don't know if I'm going to finish it or not.
Right.
But with this one, it's a solid game in a series. And if you want a prettier version of it, or if you've been wanting to play it and you haven't had a chance to yet, you might want to wait for this one because you'll get a lot more for what you pay for it. So, the Division 2 is the next
Yes.
thing that they released.
So, in the original The Division, it took place in New York City after a viral outbreak that decimated the population there and left everyone basically uh, beyond repair. And so the Division 2 is taking place in Washington, D.C. And according to what I'm reading here, is forcing you to prevent a new American Civil War.
Well, nothing causes war better than desperation and fear and paranoia. The way the trailer was describing it is basically the people who are left are living under siege. They are they're walled up in the buildings that they live in. They're going as far as actually growing food on the rooftops, and
Right.
people are guarding the place with like rifles and just basically someone comes to try to mess with them, they're going to mess them up as best they can rather than let them push them around. Um, I know this game also when the first one came out, some people actually drew parallels with Destiny 2, like in the way that you gain experience, and got things. Obviously, you lack the supernatural ability portion of Destiny 2, but you still have the squad based tactics, the multiple armaments, and experience gaining that you would have. Um, the gameplay looked pretty intense and looked like something I'd enjoy. Um, but and everything looks great. I mean, all looks ruined, of course, but I mean, it's a very, very nicely digitized ruin, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and I'll admit I'm a little bit skeptical, given that I got suckered by the original Division, which was pretty much a mess at launch. But I'm hoping Division 2 will work, that they'll have finally fixed the problems with the Snowdrop engine, and the Division 2 will hopefully work better out of the gate. I don't know if I'm going to jump in first thing, but
Well, for me, it depends on my friends. Like, if I have friends that are going to play this game, I will try to get this game and play with them because I want to do multiplayer if I can. But this does look enjoyable. So, like this and Anthem so far looks like they're going to be they're going to be a lot of fun. Um,
yeah,
I know, like, because this is a Tom Clancy game, right? Yeah,
yes. It's marketed as Tom Clancy's The Division 2.
yeah, and I know me and my circle of friends from back in high school, we would always get together and play Ghost Recon, which is a bit different from this style of game. Actually, it's a lot different from this style of gameplay, but we really like playing those type of games. Even though I was never as good as they were, but it's always fun just to get everyone in a room together and do all this like squad based combat and whatnot, and it's like because rather than actually killing each other, we're working together towards a common goal. And I think it's because of those experiences that I'm really looking more forward to all these co-op modes in these games rather than the PvP. And I think this is just another one of those that's going to allow me to do that.
Yeah, and uh, I'm sorry, I am slightly distracted. They just announced Starfield, like I predicted they would.
Okay, good. Is it anything like you thought it would be?
I don't know. The only thing they've announced so far is the name, and they're just rolling the trailer. So
Oh, okay. So you don't have any footage on that yet. Okay. Um. So wait, this is their
this
time block
is
almost over?
almost this. Oh, and they just showed a teaser for the Elder Scrolls 6, but that's all they showed.
Whoa, that's huge. So basically, they saved their biggest guns for the end. Well played, Bethesda. Well played. What is Elder Scrolls 6 called?
They didn't say, they just put the Elder Scrolls 6, and they showed a view of what appeared to be a large mountainous landmass.
Wow, that is a tease of a tease.
Yeah, and they didn't really say a whole lot about Starfield either, just that it was and that it is coming.
Okay. I guess it's a start. I mean, now people can finally stop wondering when that they'll ever release another Elder Scrolls game. And
I
now
mean, they
people
just
like you,
confirmed it
yeah.
is in development. It's going to be a while yet.
Well, I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day, but it was
Yeah,
burnt down in a day.
well,
So,
technically 3, but
oh, 3. Yeah, but still, it's just encouraging to finally know that they're working on it.
mm-hmm.
Now people can stop wondering.
Indeed.
Okay. But yeah, is there block over at 11 Eastern?
Yes, it is winding down now. They just said thank you for watching, and the party is going to continue after.
Okay. So we can go through like the rest of these Microsoft announcements, and I think we'll probably call it as well.
Darman in the Facebook group is going, Elder Scrolls 6, this is not a drill.
Of course, it's not a drill. It's an RPG. Come on, Darman.
Oh,
Like stating the obvious. It's like, uh, so Microsoft announced this technology called Fast Start. The gist of it is it allows for certain games to load much faster than it normally is and normally could, and that it's going to release later this month. So that could be good because I know certain games have notoriously long load times.
yes.
So any way you can load a game faster is always welcome.
Yeah, and especially given the fact that Xbox doesn't let you swap out hard drives anymore. At least not the way you could with the Xbox 360.
Yeah, okay. But you have it's a little bit more dangerous to do so now.
Yeah. Uh, you know, whereas I think one of the main advantages with the PS4 is that if you wanted to, you could
Yeah,
yank out, you can fairly easily replace the hard drive with a much faster SSD,
yeah. So it's not
which,
something I'm going to attempt. Side note.
well, I mean, the testing I've seen, it does make a significant difference. The
Hmm.
standard hard drive, like I think they did a boot test with, it may have been the last, I think it was The Last of Us Remastered, but they inserted the disc and it took 73 seconds to boot. They put in one of the Seagate SSHDs, which is the hard drive with an SSD cache.
Yeah,
It took about 48 seconds.
that's almost half.
And then with an actual Samsung 850 EVO SSD, it took 39 seconds.
Okay, that's what 4 seconds faster ish for 10.
It's
Math is
about
not my thing. I'm
it's about
struggling here.
9 seconds faster than the SSHD, and it was about half the time of a regular hard drive.
That's that is pretty significant. Okay, maybe I'll try it at some point.
Let's see. Is there anything else of note out of the Microsoft?
They announced more titles for the Halo Master Chief Collection, Ashen, Warhammer Vermintide 2.
Oh,
Um,
and Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
yes, that one's pretty huge. Which I'll be honest with you, I was really excited for this series when I saw it come up, and I bought the first game. I never finished it because I couldn't get past. I couldn't bear to get past the segment where you have your arms tied behind your back and you have to sneak around and not get caught by anyone because I hated watching her get shot in the chest uh, every time I failed. It just I couldn't do it. But
I get it.
this is the third installment of the series, and it hits the usual benchmark of 4K Ultra HD and HDR visuals. It had a really stunning trailer, and this is looking to be the title that shows her become the Tomb Raider proper, I guess you could say.
Right.
So, I mean, this is a pretty hotly anticipated title after like the last two. Um,
Um, there was a new skateboarding game called Session announced by Creature Studios. So, unfortunately, there was no Skate 4, but there was Session.
so this
So,
might be a spiritual successor of sorts.
maybe we don't really know.
Yeah. I don't know, like skateboarding games haven't really been that popular in recent years.
Yeah, I mean, after the Tony Hawk Pro Skater series kind of flamed out, there hasn't been that many skateboarding games.
But hey, maybe this one will be the one to revive the genre.
Perhaps.
Let's see. I guess Black Desert Online is coming to Xbox One.
With the beta
Um,
beginning in fall 2018.
mhm. Like that game is known for being a pretty expansive MMO RPG. A lot of customization options. I think I watched a stream where most of the stream was them customizing their character because that's how in depth that the creator is. Um,
Yes.
so that probably for me falls into the same category as like Skyrim or Morrowind, where I'm afraid to play it because of how much time it's going to take out of my life.
Right.
Um, but then again, MMOs usually don't keep my attention anyway. But I mean, it's on the Xbox One, so you know it's going to have like a certain level of excellence, you know, at least visually, unless they screw up the port process. Let's see, Devil May Cry 5 was announced,
Right.
which I guess originally it was said to be a PS4 exclusive, but it is going to come out Xbox One spring 2019, which is that's almost a year away. So it's going to take a while. The usual 4K Ultra HD visuals and all that. I don't really know what else to say about that right now. I mean, it's Devil May Cry, so you're going to either be shooting people or sorting people, or shooting people then sorting them, or sorting them then shooting
Right.
them, and look cool while doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I mean, just from what I've seen, I mean, the visuals do look impressive. Um, but they always do. I mean, the visuals aren't the most important thing. It's how the game plays.
Exactly.
But then again, speaking of visuals, this goes in an entirely different direction. Cuphead is getting the Delicious Last Course expansion, which, as you may or may not know, Cuphead has a style like an old school cartoon. I'd say like
Right.
50s, right?
Well, more like the from the 20s and 30s.
Or 20s. And once again, numbers have killed me. But I can imagine that you'll find more content that is going to push you to your limits of your gameplay ability, all
Mm-hmm.
while looking charming at the same time.
Right.
We've got Tunic, that is been touted as a very beautiful looking Legend of Zelda clone, right down to the fact that the main character is wearing a green tunic and uses a sword and all that. But the character is a fox, so it's different.
Right.
Um, I still think it looks like it could be a very fun game. Uh, Now, Jump Force, kind of going through these last ones really quickly because I mean, there's not a whole lot to say about it, but Jump Force is it's referring to like Shonen Jump characters. If you're familiar with like anime and manga, um, trailer is basically showing like different worlds colliding and fusing into one. You're seeing Naruto from the Naruto Shippuden series. You're seeing Luffy from One Piece series, and you're seeing Goku from the Dragon Ball series. And for some reason, all of them are beating up Frieza from the Dragon Ball series, looking cool while they're doing it. I mean, it's very dark and gritty looking. Looks pretty intense, just like those shows are known for in their combat. And it's just looking like either this is going to be a really intense and fun game, or it's going to be disappointing like the last Shonen Jump game. I'm hoping it's the first thing I said because I want a good game like this where you can just beat on people like Frieza.
Yeah. So we can finally answer the question of who would win in a fight by actually having them fight each other.
Yes, that is another thing I want to do. But then at the very end, they threw in a curveball and showed Light and Ryuk from Death Note. Which, if he's able to just write their name in a book and feed them, that's going to be terribly unbalanced.
Right?
But I don't see that happening. We'll see. This this one, you're just going to have to watch for it because at this point it's too early to tell whether it's going to be good or not.
Yeah. I would tend to agree.
Okay, Darwin is blowing us up right now because he called a phone for some reason.
Yeah.
And he picked it up.
Called it about. He's referring to the fact that Fallout 76 apparently is going to be, well, what he calls Fallout Borderlands Edition. It's going to be drop in, drop out co op.
I'm fine with this.
As am I. The fact that you can play the whole thing solo if you want to, or you can play it with friends, I think
Hmm.
that's a great idea.
So it could end up being as played by Ned and friends.
Dun dun dun.
uh, what else we got left on here? We've got Dying Light 2. That's a zombie game, isn't it?
The sequel to Dying Light.
Yeah. Okay.
One of those the whole world can change based on your decision type games.
Okay. That's something.
Apparently, Battletoads, which we don't know much about, but of course, Battletoads is a rare franchise that apparently will be returning in 2019 in glorious 4K Ultra HD.
I really hope they don't ruin this. Okay,
Uh,
granted, the first Battletoads game was insanely hard and I could never beat it, but it was still a good, beloved game, and they better not ruin it.
let's see. Patty will be happy to find that Just Cause 4 is announced
I'm happy for that too.
and will be launched on December 4th.
Man, I really got to pick up Just Cause 3 and play that. I think
Oh,
it's on sale right now.
my heart is excited, but my wallet is crying silently in a corner.
Oh, my wallet cries silently in the corner and sometimes loudly in the corner on a regular basis. Whatever. uh, Gears of War 5 has been announced, which I'm gonna be honest here. How much longer can they really stretch this franchise out? Like how many wow, alpaca? No, apocalyptic scenarios can that storyline go through and still actually make sense?
As many as they can milk the franchise for.
He's not wrong, folks.
Apparently,
Uh,
they also decided that they wanted to get in on the mobile space, so they decided that taking Gears of War's characters and turning them into Funko Pops was a good idea to make a mobile game on. So, Gears Pop is a mobile game that's going to be launching on Android and iOS in 2019. So, if you wanted your Gears of War characters to be cute as they're chainsaw gunning each other to death, then I guess Gears Pop is the game for you.
and if that's still not enough Gears news for you, they also announced Gears Tactics. I guess it's a tactics game in the same vein as XCOM. It's a prequel to the events of the third-person shooters, and it's supposed to have thrilling boss fights. The sad thing about this is I feel like this is going to control way better than the actual Gears of War games.
Oh, someone get some cold water for that burn, please.
I mean, if I wanted to control a tank, I'd probably play Battlefield. um, oh, and of course, Xbox had to throw out that the next Xbox is in development. But don't get too excited because it is probably not anytime soon.
I'd say it's at least 2, probably 3 years away because they just launched the Xbox One X last year. They generally put at least 2 or 3 years between these. They've put at least about 2 years between the incremental upgrades on the Xbox One. And so I would say the fact that they're teasing it now means probably going to come out in 2020 or so. Because
All right.
that would the Xbox One launched in 2013. That would give the Xbox One its full 7-year console cycle, which is fairly typical for your average console. And so launching in 2020 would make sense.
That seems pretty accurate, actually. Let's see. We've got Microsoft AI, which just screams Skynet all over again. But the basic gist of this is that the AI is supposed to enhance how the enemies react in games and apparently give new challenges to players.
In other words, marketing speak for we're going to make our stuff smarter, or at least make you
Mhm.
think that we're making our stuff smarter.
Right? But hey, I mean, that'd be good because as frustrating as difficult games are, it's also frustrating when the game has stupid AI.
Yeah, because then it just feels like a slog.
Hmm. And
And
then
yeah,
go ahead.
Microsoft confirms their game streaming service because everybody has to have one of those apparently.
Now, see, I thought that was their mixer platform.
Well, I think game streaming in this case refers to the idea that you can stream games on other devices, meaning that
Oh,
if you wanted to play for whatever reason, you wanted to play a Xbox One game on your tablet, that you could stream it to your tablet from your Xbox One.
okay. Okay, that makes a bit more sense. And this leads us to our last item that Microsoft announced, and it's actually a pretty big one. A game
Oh,
called Cyberpunk 2077,
oh,
which I have.
CD Projekt Red. Why do you
Mhm.
do this to me? I
Is
haven't
that
even
a
finished The Witcher 3 yet, okay?
wait? So it's the same people who made the Witcher series?
Yes, they originally announced this game back in
Hmm.
2013.
I haven't actually had a chance to start the Witcher games, but I've seen how enticing they are. And then now that this game comes out and looks awesome, and now I want to play it.
And the thing that really makes me excited for this is based in the same world as the Cyberpunk 2020 role-playing game,
Yeah.
and it's taking place in Night City, which is like the central location in the game. I can't wait to see what CD Projekt Red does with a property like the Cyberpunk 2020, or in this case 2077, because we see how much love they put into the Witcher series,
Hmm.
and anyone who has the cojones to put out a trailer 5 years ago with the ending saying available when it's ready,
Yeah, I remember that.
to finally see this and to see a trailer for it. I've been waiting so long for this, and yes, it's just a trailer right now, but if the actual game looks anything even close to this, it will be the Cyberpunk game I've been wanting for so long.
Same. Well, I can't say the same because I definitely know people who want it so much more than I do, but it does look pretty impressive. I mean, looks like there's a lot of things going on there, and it's it's just starting to sound like it's one of those games you could really sink your teeth in and like get a lot of hours out of.
Yeah, honestly, uh, this when this comes out, this will probably be the game I stream for quite some time.
I don't see a problem with that, except maybe like the whole mature thing, but we'll work
Well,
that out.
yeah, we'll figure it out.
And I think that about covers it. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, other than Bethesda, you are a tease. Never change.
Yeah.
I also appreciate the fact that Bethesda can take a joke with their whole Skyrim on refrigerators and toasters thing. And so yeah, so far I'm liking what I'm seeing out of E3. This looks like it's going to be one of the better E3s that we've had in a while. I know last year was kind of meh. And honestly, the last E3 that I can remember that was really great was about 2015, when when Bethesda pulled the Fallout 4 bit in 2015. So this is shaping up, I think, to be another year like that one.
Mm-hmm. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is quite late, and we have gone over a lot of stuff. So, on behalf of Crosswords Gaming, uh, guys, have a good night.
For John.